Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Mere Musk, episode 65, the Sandeep, Sen, and Dani Riedel, is that correct?
It is.
Riedel? Oh, perfect. Riedel interview, and a couple of NYC hard-nosed true grit comics coming at you live, and it's an honor to have you guys on today, honestly. It's a truly a blessing.
Thank you.
I feel like you don't have that much going for you in your life.
I don't have a lot going on in my life. Trust me. I'm in St. Louis, bro. I'm down bad, all right?
I'm like, I'll take it.
That was very nice. Thank you.
Of course.
Honor to be asked.
And
well,
go ahead.
For our show, I mean, like we try to find people who, for one, we're interested in hearing their story and talking to them about what they do. But there's a little subgenre. A lot of the people we've had are comedians or people either hobbyist or high-level professional comedians or entertainers or YouTubers. So we just love getting the perspective of that hustle and getting to know you is like what got you into it and all that type of stuff. So I'd like to welcome you. I know personally very little going into this, but I know you guys are both comics. So speaking on that, are you guys both based out in New York City?
I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, we're both in New York.
Yep. Hell's Kitchen, baby.
Okay, so you guys are in that grind of New York City, which is like,
fuck yeah.
We know we've seen a lot of these guys come through from the New York scene, and they're like, there's Gas Digital. We've had some people from there, and there's all these different like cliques of comedy. So how did you find your way out there, I guess? Starting with you, Dani, can you give us a little information on that?
So the way I ended up in New York was actually, so when in 2020, when everything closed and we were on lockdown, I got into the Zoom comedy thing, and I was living in Philly at the time where I'm from. And I was meeting comics from all over the country. And before I knew it, I had all these friends in New York. So then when things started opening back up, I was just getting booked in New York and not in Philly. So after 8 months of commuting back and forth, and that was, I think, my biggest grindiest period. There was an 8-month chunk of time in like 2021 where I was schlepping from Philly to New York 3 days a week in New York, 4 days a week in Philly when I was bartending. It was nuts. And then one day I was like, hey, baby, do you want to move? And now we're here. But it's really intense.
Yeah, it's New York, man. There's people being pushed in front of trains. People are burning in the subway.
People
I'm kidding. It's a beautiful city. I'm kidding. It's a beautiful city.
I do. I absolutely love New York City. The comedy grind is like very real. I mean, if you want to go to half a dozen open mics a day, you can. And just trying to get booked here, there, book something that pays every now and then,
Right.
It's actually probably like the hardest job I've ever had. I've definitely had like more unpleasant jobs, but I would say stand-up comedy is actually like the most difficult job I've ever had.
Well, you're a starving artist. Yeah, it's the best though. You're doing it for your art. What about you, Sandeep, man? How'd you get into the big green apple, bro?
Well, I was already in New York. I'm from Chicago, but I just
yeah. Chow's from Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Chow, are you in St. Louis too?
No, I'm in the Midwest. I'm actually I'm Chicago based, so.
Okay. Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right. So we got 3 Chicago. Yes, I moved to New York. My plan was to stay 1 year. Then I just stayed. And then I always had a fear of public speaking my whole life. Like every time I give a speech in school, it would just terrify me. And so I took a stand-up comedy class as a fun way to do it. They're public speaking classes or groups that you can do. But then I figured I'd just be hearing a bunch of people who are shitty at public speaking talk.
Right.
Let me at least hear some jokes if I'm going to do this. And so I did that. And then I just we had this class show at the end. And I found I was terrified, but I also found it pretty thrilling.
Mm-hmm.
And
was that in Chicago?
For my first set, which most of the time your class shows can be, I mean, they're very hit or miss. Like the next, And so, but my class show did well, and I just kind of got the bug. I'm like, this is thrilling. I want to keep doing it.
Right.
We just keep going to open mics, and it probably took like 2 years of me going to open mics to like for that terror feeling, like just the negative feeling to leave. But I just have this pit in my stomach all open mic, and just wouldn't feel great. And then that went away after about 2 years, and now like if you're going there to work on something. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world.
So what seduced you to stay in NYC though? Like what really got you staying? Because you can do comedy everywhere.
Once you go somewhere, then you start making friends, and you just start like,
right.
Probably doing comedy was really what kept me, because that's something that is pretty unique to New York. Though now, I mean, Chicago has a pretty great scene, and
Austin with the mothership and shit. I've heard.
Yeah, but I never did comedy in Chicago. Like I never knew. It never occurred to me to do stand-up comedy.
Oh, so you took the class once you were in, or you started when you were in New York. You didn't do like Second City in Chicago, because I know they're big for those classes and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought to do a class. But I was just kind of like, oh, okay, let me try this. For fun.
That's awesome.
Then it even came to my mind to like just keep doing it.
So you're like a normal Joe that just decide I want to take some classes, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm actually pretty good. So you don't have any weird shit going on in the background of your family, no trauma driven shit. It's just you're hanging out.
I had trauma driven shit, but I didn't know. I mean, once I met the other thing is once I met comics, I'm like, oh, these are my people. I didn't.
Yeah, they're fucked up, dude.
I am, and I mean, my trauma was, I was just like, I was made fun of in school. I was bullied. I always felt really socially awkward.
Dani has a story about being bullied, don't you, Dani?
I sure do. Are we going to go there already?
Yeah, didn't you like applaud your friends, your bullies being murdered in a car? I forgot. What was it?
I didn't applaud it.
I don't know, bro.
It's.
She just did the murdering.
Yeah, I think you probably fucking fed them the drinks and then they crashed.
She just hired them.
Well, they weren't drinks. And if you would like, I will real quick actually tell you the story without leaving out what I leave out of the comedy bit.
Go ahead.
So I've got mostly mom trauma, and then with a big side helping a bully trauma. But I mean, like the worst of my high school bullies, they were huffing Duster 2 computer keyboard cleaner, like to get high, like kids did in the 90s.
That's hot.
And they then decided to go buy their prom dresses and drive home, just blackout high on huffing. And they crashed their car and died. And because they were just shopping for their prom dresses, I guess they wanted them to get to wear them, so they buried them in them.
That's sad.
That's rough.
Were all your bullies together, or was this like one bully taken out with the other, with like two nice people?
There were 5 of them in the car actually, and they all died. And like 2 of them were like really bad bullies. One of them was like sometimes a bully, and one of them I didn't know very well because she was just too popular to talk to me, and then one of them was a little nice sometimes. But the driver and the passenger seat were the 2 who had been tormenting me and throwing shit at me on a daily basis since I moved there in 2nd grade. So
you're like some Carrie shit then.
They did some Carrie shit to me. Yeah. So in order to avoid actual Carrie shit from happening, my parents took me out of that public school, which they honestly should have done long ago. And I ended up going to a Quaker school and getting a much better education, but they wouldn't bus me. Quaker school. So it was in Delaware, so they wouldn't bus me. So my parents would have to drive me from like Philly to Delaware. So on the way back, we happened to be on the same stretch of highway that they were on, and I witnessed the accident. We were like 2 cars behind it.
When were you taken out of school?
Just after 9th grade. I started 10th grade in the good private school. But on my way back from school, we just see this horrible car crash right in front of us. And the next morning, I found out that the flaming leg I saw sticking out of a car window was my high school bully.
But you had been out like this was like 2 years after you left the high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you both are victims of bullying, I'm guessing, in high school, right?
Not Sandeep.
No, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, but no one died. I don't think I had. By the time in high school, I didn't think I had like a.
You didn't have like voodoo dolls or anything going on.
No,
I know people that were just dicks, but
I mean, I had a fantasy notebook back in 9th grade when I was still in school with them, but like I also am not one of those people who thinks that has any power. So,
dude, your mom abuses you, Carrie. You got people you killed, Carrie. Well, you know, bullies. I guess how it rolls. But anyway.
Okay, I'm kind of Carrie.
Yeah, kind of. But I kind of want like so. You guys grew up in a, I wouldn't say rough childhood because you know we've had guests on who've been raped as a child and whatnot, you know, all that good stuff. So you guys did have it kind of down bad, I'm guessing, to some extent. How much of your personal life from your, like I say, inner turmoils do you portray onto the stage? Or do you guys kind of keep it, you know, in the backseat? You guys kind of hide that shit away? Because sometimes it's better not to over, you know, expose certain demons.
Well, some people are like autobiographical, and then some are like super like joke structure, like not, you know, like absurd more. So there's like styles. And how much do you incorporate that stuff into your life, your act, I guess is what Mir's asking.
I haven't talked about, I don't really talk about much like bullying or childhood stuff just because I haven't really written it out. I find it hard to like, yeah, it has to be funny. And it's sometimes hard to just access what's funny about some stuff. But I mean, I would talk about anything if I could make it funny. But I think I always made jokes. I think that's how I learned to cope with a lot of it. And so I think that's what comes in, is that just that the idea of like diffusing tension and making jokes to kind of make everything okay. And that's what I noticed. I think a lot of comics, that's where it came from.
Right.
Yeah, I completely incorporate it. I mean, I will like never forget the moment it popped into my head. Like holy shit, people are applauding me for telling them about something that happened to me in high school that got me harassed by all my peers in high school. Like it's so like I have a couple storytelling bits like that. I mean, there's certain things that, like Sandeep said, that's the key, is can you make it funny? And it took me years to turn my high school bullies dying into a comedy bit that I felt comfortable with. And my threshold was, would I be okay doing this bit if their parents were in the audience? And I finally got there with it. So, but yeah, I am, I guess, the opposite. I put pretty much everything out there. The stuff I can't make funny, like, oh, you know, my mom did blank. Well, that's not going to be funny. So, but
mom jokes are funny.
That's incredible. You feel like comfortable. The jokes you make about it, you feel comfortable even if their parents were in the audience.
Yeah. I mean, they might not love it, but I constructed it so that the only little part of it that could be construed as coming down on them, even though it's not, it's really just a commentary on, the social environment in the 90s, is I think a well enough constructed joke that it would force a chuckle.
That is so
at least
incredible.
Get me forgiven.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah. That's really hard to do.
You work so long on it that's how it, you know, you hone it. But Sandeep, I wanted to say, bro, I can tell you're based as hell, bro.
You look based. Fuck Pakistan, right, bro?
No, not because of that, not that shit, dude. I see you.
Dude, that just happened.
In his background, he's got that same shelving thing that I got, so I know he's based. And then he's got that like Eames chair looking thing there. So
it's a green screen, bro. It's a green screen.
Yeah, this isn't real.
This isn't real. He's not that. He's not that. You know.
It doesn't
I
matter.
didn't know what based meant. I thought you meant I was high, which I'm like,
Just
what?
the fact that he
What?
picked that background, he knew. You know, so that's like he's a man of taste. You can see with his shirt and stuff. Trust me, bro.
Yes.
It's like I told right at first sight. It's not. I'm attributing the background just to prove my point. But
yeah, the shirt's all mine, so I'll take credit for it.
so yeah. So tell us about like how you became such a G.
Yeah. I see the chains. I see the chains, bro.
We see the chains.
Yeah, you know, you gotta maintain your street cred when you're from.
Fuck yeah, man. You're in the trenches, bro.
That's right. Well, I'm a psychiatrist so that's what I do during the day.
Oh damn.
And so I see patients with this background. So I needed a nice, like a good office background. So that's where this background comes from.
So patients, you got different patients coming in for a myriad of different issues, and then at night you go out and you meet a whole different bunch of people that have a myriad of issues, telling their stories on stage though. So wow, you must live a really social life. You must be around people all the time.
Yeah, I mean, my day job I see is all through video, so it's pretty lonely or it's pretty isolating. But then at night that's why like I can go out and it's good to be around people. And what's nice about New York is like there's so many open mics and you can just go to any comedy club and just hang out there. And so that's you just say I'm a comic and
it's a scene. Yeah.
But you always have like places to go where you can just be there and
free drinks, the bitches, the dick.
No free drinks or bitches, but
for the family, bro. It's like there's a club of like comics who kind of, you know,
right.
They do their thing and they're like,
yeah,
but you wouldn't get it. You're a musician.
I wouldn't. Yeah, us musicians get dirty though, bro. Like I know
lone wolves.
We are lone wolves. But I hear those comics get a little too close sometimes, though, and I want to dive into that because I wonder about that. Have you guys ever gone a little too close to a comic before, where you kind of started catching feelings, and then it started getting a little too, raunchy, and you're like, hang on a second, we need to probably pull it back a little bit. You ever got, and then it kind of burns you in the ass? You ever have anything like that happen to you?
I was thankfully, I only got into comedy when I was 37 years old. So I was already a happily married woman when I started. So I think that probably saved me from a lot of issues.
I know Sandeep got dirty with it, bro.
Oh, I've had a few, I've had a few relations with some comics, but I want more. Like here's the thing with comedy. It's like,
he wants more.
Yeah, there's like a 10-to-1. I don't know. There's like a 8-to-1 guy to girl ratio. Any like semi-attractive comedy woman has like
piece of meat
dicks just flying at them. So I think it's pretty hard.
Really?
Yeah, and but the good thing about being on stage when you're doing stand-up solo is then you can also get groupies from the crowd and stuff like that.
Dude, how was that groupie pussy?
I don't feel like I'm high enough doing enough shows. I mean, a lot of the shows I do is just not like single women aren't there.
Damn. You'll get there, Sandy.
On occasion, but yeah, most of the time.
We had AJ Benz on. He had like banged all these famous Hollywood chicks, so like it's just kind of a standard on our show. We're not really that perverted, but just kind of like part of the contract. We have to ask.
Yeah. We have to ask what's your body?
Have to ask what's the body count.
Who's AJ Benz?
Yeah.
AJ Benza. Yeah, he's like from Howard Stern, and he's like a Hollywood gossip reporter. He lived with like Robert Evans, and he's like best friends with Jack Nicholson. He's a cool.
Okay.
Dude.
I mean, that's nice.
Yeah, he's a G. But not to get off track, but we're talking too much about ourselves. Let's get back into comedy.
Yeah.
When do you guys think you're gonna develop into this idea of a special that's so popular right now?
Dani.
I have one in the works, but I'm kind of actually on a timeline. So I'm moving out of New York City in 4 months. So I'm thinking sometime in probably like late July. I have a couple possible venues, but I have like a small indie production company I'm working with, and they're to film it and produce it, and I'm just gonna film 45 minutes and probably just put it on YouTube for posterity. I don't know, and then I'm gonna move out of town in September, so I want to take that chance while I have it. So
Where are
that's
you moving to?
I'm moving to Mexico City.
Okay.
Oh, nice. I've heard good things. High elevation, so that's awesome. And this will be like a time capsule. You're doing your special in New York City.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a different reason than most people have for doing a special.
That's and what you don't have to get too much into your business, but what's bringing you out to Mexico City?
Well, the
work, adventure.
adventure.
Yeah.
My husband recently retired, and we're just
Damn, how old is he? How old is your husband, bro?
50. He's just
damn, dude. He's making money then. If he's trying to 50 something shit.
Well, he's being smart.
Listen,
he's moving where it's cheaper.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, that is true. He's Mexico where there's
genius, but he's like, he worked so hard for so many years. Like I just saw him for the first time, like since he retired in 10 years, but Mexico City, really, the cost of living is, well, it's a lot less than Manhattan for sure. But like the subway is 20 cents, just to give you an idea. But that kind of allowed that. But of all the places in the world that we talked about, like, I don't speak perfect Spanish, but like it's okay. And they actually have they have a small English speaking comedy scene there. I've met some really great people. And we're good to go. We're set. We're gonna be driven across the country and through the border with 4 cats in a van.
No drugs, right? You're not doing anything. You're not doing that shit.
I think you can bring them into Mexico. I don't know what the rules are these days. But yeah.
Mexico City has a subway. That's funny as fuck. Sandy, what about you, bro? What about that special, man?
I haven't thought about it.
Why? It's just popping right now, man. Every motherfucker's got special, bro.
That's true. Well, that's why every motherfucker got special. I don't feel like it's that special.
That's very punk rock. I like it.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, some people focus on getting out there digital and like making videos and specials, and then some people want to like work really hard behind the scenes, like doing shows or going on the road and performing and getting really like polished and then doing the special. So maybe saying he's just in a different vibe right now.
Yeah, I've just been in the like writing jokes and getting as many spots as I can mode.
Hey, I got a question.
Go ahead,
how do you guys balance with we're talking about being around other comics and the vibe, and like how do you balance like the competitiveness of like trying to get a spot on a show that's like maybe limited versus like the camaraderie versus like the politics? Like that whole thing is like kind of weird, right? Like you guys want to be friends, but then you're kind of competing in some sense. So like how does that work? Are you competitive?
I don't think so, because just because every comedian is so different from, well, maybe not every comedian, but
I don't know.
I feel like I'm different enough from most other comedians that I don't feel like, and maybe I've just told myself to think this, but like I don't feel like it's not like you're auditioning for a play and there's only one role,
right?
Yeah. It's New York City. We all have opportunities to get on stage.
Right, but some are better than others, though.
It might not always be the best one, but I mean that's the great thing about New York City is like you can get on stage. There's enough.
I think traditionally it might have been more like hierarchical, where it was like you worked your way up and like there's only so many people who are touring, and then they'd pick from the like younger people who would they bring with, and it'd be like kind of like a pyramid more. But now like with everyone can kind of do their own thing and be discovered their own way. It might be harder in some ways or different, but like I think that's kind of what you're saying, Dani, is like you kind of just there's enough of whatever you want to do to find your niche.
Yeah, a lot of people like want more stage time. Oh, okay, I'll just find a bar and produce my own show. Like, that's not for me, but like I totally respect people who do that, and I love that people do that.
So Sandeep, what got you into comedy roast battling, man? That's a whole different genre than just stand up in itself. And I know you're a legend at it. I've heard the name.
Why, thank you. One of our friends, Matt Marin, started this thing called Comedy Fight Club. And this was, this is like 10 years ago. And it was when I was early on in comedy. So I knew Matt, and I just knew a lot of the comics that were doing it. Most of us were pretty new. Right. And for me, it was like, so that's how I even started, just because I knew Matt Marin, and I knew a lot of my friends at Comedy Fight Club. And what was nice about it was just us. And I think this was like 2010, and this is starting when peak, like when political correctness was really increasing. I mean, I've always been there, and I think it was getting a lot more. And it was just kind of a way for us comics to be, because there weren't really like regular audiences coming in. So it was just kind of all us comics and just saying the most ridiculous,
outrageous shit. Like,
and it was for us, and it was just pretty hilarious. So it was a totally different muscle to work.
It is, yeah.
It's like a game too. You're preparing for this game of like competing against this other person. When it's done, it's kind of done. You don't really use those jokes again. So it's like,
right, you don't. So it exercises like a kind of a different comedy writing muscle, which is, you just have to think of a lot of premises. You have to try to comedy writing muscle of like making connections and going from one thing to another and connecting them, making it funny. That's used in all your comedy, but you have to really try to do it for roast battling. So it exercises that muscle, and you have to write really tight jokes too. You have to really focus on not having any extra words or any extra
strict them very down.
It has to really so all that stuff is fun about roast battling, but just mainly being depraved with other comics.
Do you still do it at all, man? You ever want to hop back in the ring, get a couple shots off?
Every few months, I'll do it.
Yeah, dude, I love
that Matt dude. I've actually been on a podcast with him. I was on a comedian Ray DeVito show with him pretty recently, but I've seen him. He's been doing it forever, like that roast thing, and that's like his thing. Like he's like a roast. He's like a very specific type of like joke writing comedian. Like Bill Burr, or certain guys will tell long stories. He's very good at the joke part. So I fuck with that dude for sure.
And I was like, I want to touch on something Sandeep just said though, and Dani, you can chime in on whatever you want. So you said like political correctness really kind of destroyed like the construction of jokes and or what areas you could reach out to really pull in the crowd and really sharpen your expertise. So how has that affected you, political correctness, and how have you kind of evolved with it? Both of you, if you guys could answer that.
I don't feel like it's affected. I mean, I think as a comic, you always have to any joke you say, you kind of got to massage, and you kind of get people on your side with it. So I haven't noticed it that personally, but I do find discussions about, this person said this joke and then this tweeter tweeted about it. I find those annoying and just kind of dumb. And it just was, and when it was as political correctness increased, that's a lot of that discussion was happening. Like anytime they talked about a comic, they'd have to talk about someone who's pissed at their joke. And I think those conversations are annoying and played out and stupid. And so I like that with Comedy Fight Club. Like we were just saying depraved shit. We didn't have to massage it. We didn't have to, because if you're going there with an audience, you kind of got to massage anything you do. But it was fun to hear on comics, and then you could just you can make fun of someone's.
Like you made fun of a bitch who's anorexic and couldn't breastfeed her baby.
Take it.
You made fun of a bitch being anorexic, couldn't feed her baby. Like that's brilliant. Nowadays, dude, you have the feministic movement on your ass.
Wait, what did you say? What was this joke? Did you say a joke?
No, not a joke. It's like you made fun of the anorexic bitch who couldn't breastfeed her kid, And then I'm like, if you did that now,
Tell me the joke. I don't remember it.
I don't know your jokes, bro.
Well, come on. I mean,
Sounds dope though.
Oh wait,
it is
are you
dope.
talking about my joke or is this?
No, this is your joke. You said that. Yeah, you said you fucked with a bitch who was a military vet or some shit. You say you're such a anorexic bitch or something like that. You can't even breastfeed your kid. And they're like, I'm saying, like, even if you said that now, bro, I guarantee you people will be on your ass about that shit.
Well, if we say that roast, in roast battles, I think we can say
that
like
shit. Like they make fun of like they make fun of. I've seen a bunch of them. They make fun of like people's race and like all that shit. Like they don't care.
But the problem is, they're on YouTube, and I feel like it's gonna happen. Someone's just gonna cut from YouTube, and if someone saw that, it would be.
Yeah, don't trust Sandeep. He might be Indian, but he's a true racist.
And do a lot of explaining, like this is the show, like this is what we're doing.
He still has that bread and pies. No, what about you, Dani? What's your take on all that?
To me, just like everything comes down to like context and intent. Like if I hear a joke that is politically incorrect, but all the nuances are there for me to get that the person's message is one that I philosophically do agree with, if that makes sense.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Tell me that. Explain that to me. Like what? What do you philosophically agree with? That's a racist joke. Tell me that.
Hypothetically, like, I honestly, you know what? I can't think of a good example.
Hang on here. What? If you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. I'm just wondering.
Okay, so an example is I have a friend of mine who uses the R word in a set.
What was the R word? What do you mean, rape?
Retarded.
Oh, okay.
And it's the context it's in is such that it shouldn't really be offensive to anyone.
Sure.
But if
it's not mean spirited, but he says the actual word, so some.
Yeah, and there's a punchline that's well crafted enough that it just
saves it.
It's just ends up being a wonderful joke. But that's where it gets tough. Is like I don't know where the line is, only when it's maybe been crossed, but that takes a lot.
Here's something for you. What's the most racist offensive joke you've ever said that is regarded towards, racism and or, I would say political, social constructs that you are very kind of like, ooh, I don't know. Depends on the crowd who I'm, what do you like? What have you said? And that's really a banger.
So I have one storytelling bit.
Go ahead.
That so it's ultimately, yes, it's a rape joke, okay? But if you hear the whole bit, then you realize that it's, dare I say, an inoffensive rape joke. I mean, if you hear the whole bit, honestly, like you wouldn't have a horrible reaction to it.
Right.
A waitress at a venue where we've both performed, just last week, I went up to her and said, could I please get an order of waffle fries to go? And she said, I don't want to talk to you because I heard you tell a rape joke. So this
damn.
Okay. And walks away. I'm like, did you just refuse me waffle fries because of a joke that she probably walked through the room and heard like a sentence and a half. But I think that's the time. Oh, and one other time I actually walked an audience member because I told a joke about basically J.K. Rowling being a vicious bitch. I was at a Star Trek convention, and the joke was that I sneakily spoiled the ending of the Harry Potter game, which was sort of a trend at the time to basically, stand up for your trans friends. And I wove it into a joke, and someone was so upset that I ruined the end of the video game for them that they walked out of the Star Trek convention and wrote an angry letter to the producer.
Oh, dang. Spoiler.
They're just an idiot. They're just, What about you, Sandeep? What do you think on what she said, though? Do you agree with that to the most extent, though? Like, what do you think about someone refusing you service because you're politically saying something? What's your take on that?
I mean, it's ridiculous. I just, I mean, I think when I was first starting, like, it would affect me a lot. Like, I remember I was telling like jokes about ADD.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, a lot of people have that.
Yeah, and I was saying like I used to enjoy my job as a psychiatrist until ADD became a thing, and then it became my problem that white people suck at school.
Hey, man, watch it.
So,
No, that's a good one.
Hey, I'm not white. I'm actually Latino, so it's all good. Go ahead.
and this joke goes on for like 5 minutes. But I still remember this. I was workshopping this joke at an open mic. And I took a class, like it was a class where we're just like trying to like add punchlines to it. And someone who was in the class got really angry and felt I was like shaming people with disabilities or mental illness. And then she like told me, she said how she like reported, she called the medical board and was reporting, and I was totally upset about it.
What the fuck? Where are you guys going?
Like, oh my God, like when you're first doing comedy, it's like, wait, how do I respond to this? And now I know to like, if anyone just tells me, I just tell them to go fuck themselves. And, because this person was a comic, and as a comic, you should definitely know better. And so now someone's like, I was really offended. I don't need to have this conversation. I think, again, this is what I just think this is all played out. It's just annoying. I don't really care.
She could have at least punched it up, like black people do way worse in school than white people, bro. So like, could have at least made the joke better,
She could have. And I don't really like this whole. I think this whole thing that we came in where if someone gets offended, they deserve to be listened to. Why? Like, why do you feel like you can talk to if you're offended by a joke? Like, why does your opinion matter? Too many people have too much. It's like then you write another joke or you just do something else. But
don't listen to the joke.
But if you keep allowing, like you saying, oh well, whatever you tweakers, you offensive people think it's okay, whatever, fuck you. Then you start getting to the realm of what's happening nowadays. If you guys are on X or on Instagram or in person, where people are saying like "fuck the Jews" and all that other crazy shit, that kind of like there has to be a medium somewhere.
They're not making jokes, right? This isn't about a joke.
Oh, this isn't a joke. Okay, I thought you were talking about jokes. My bad.
Yeah, I think there's just a pen.
I'm talking about jokes, but like if people are on Instagram saying "fuck the Jews," I don't think those.
Oh, okay.
Those are
I've heard Jew jokes though from like Ricky Gervais. They're funny, but people get offended about that too.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. Like from a comic, I don't. I mean, yeah, I don't. I just find it annoying, and I think if someone like, let's say someone makes a racist Jew joke, I mean, I think we have people in government who are doing things that really have consequential lives, and if you have like a point of view or you feel like there's some injustice, then like attack the people in government who are doing something that is enacting some kind of policy or law. And I don't understand what do you care? What are you doing if you're just saying someone's joke is offensive? And if you're going to say someone's joke offensive, then I expect them to have like watched the whole bit, not just like the clip, but like the whole thing, and really thought about why they're coming after this person, as opposed to like
if you look at Tony Hinchcliffe, I mean, I don't think he's fun. I think he's fucking annoying. I hate his fucking voice. But when he made that Puerto Rican joke or whatever about the shit island or whatever, I mean, I don't think he's funny. So I was like, whatever, I don't care, And I'm Latino, so I was like, whatever. But a lot of Latinos had an issue with it. What's your guys' take on that thing? That was blown out of proportion.
I think this is a good point. I think he was speaking because he was invited to a Trump rally, and so why, like
in Madison Square Garden in New York,
that you should be the entity that should be protested against. I think is don't elect politicians that ascribe, because you see that now has real consequences. But being mad at Hinchcliffe in and of itself, it's like, well, then hold the people responsible hold the party responsible, hold the people with power responsible.
And that's Hinchcliffe's thing, is like, that's always been his thing, is like fighting stepping over the line, fighting against the machine, like the publicly, because he kind of tried to almost got canceled at 1.2 for something else. So
it was for the Chinese
that's why
joke
they brought him in.
It was for the Chinese joke with Kevin Brennan that had that guest. What's that Chinese guy's name?
Yeah.
Win or something? Ping.
Yeah. So anyway, so
we heard a lot of people got offended by that, but like Trump got a lot more of the Hispanic vote than they ever have, like the Republicans have. So it's like, well, that's how you
that big a deal.
That's how you could have protested, is like, maybe then don't vote for those people.
Yeah, like people would still rather like go with it versus, they had their mind made up. Maybe it wasn't like they're swinging it because of Tony Hinchcliffe or whatever. But
yeah, how crazy did New York get when that Trump rally happened in Madison Square Garden? Because I never heard any coverage on it besides it was a Nazi rally. Like, you guys were boots on the ground living there. So how crazy was that shit, like, atmospheric wise? Like, were you guys, like, was it like, you know what I'm saying? Like, were there, like, fucking people with, like, rioting or freaking, like, fuck you, Trump? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it fucking crazy down there by Madison Square or not?
Level, I didn't even, like, know about it. See, New York is so, like, it's so big. And there's so many people that, like, something happened in Madison Square Garden. You're 3 blocks away and you don't even know. You don't,
right.
I live like 10 blocks away, and it was anticlimactic. Nothing much.
There apparently, Trump himself came to the Bronx. I think he had to.
He did. Yeah, he went to the Bronx. Yeah, and all the immigrants were there. They were like, "Yeah, we support you and shit." Fuck what's going on, because I think they had all the illegals down there or something shit. I forgot. They were using it as a photo op, obviously, trying to promote his shit. But, well, I'm glad we all agree that no matter what, that as long as you're not too offensive to the point where, you're starting to just spout hate speech, that, fuck anybody who has an issue with saying retard or rape or any of that shit.
Well, I think it kind of works itself out. If someone does something super offensive over and over again, they'll just not get invited to shows, or people won't show up anymore. So it kind of like serves itself, but if people are doing controversial stuff, but more people want to see it, that's kind of where you're getting to this like band, type thing. So
of course, like Tony Hinchcliffe, all those heads. Do you guys? Here's a question for you. Who are some New York comics you guys find despicable, but at the same time, or you find somewhat, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? You find somewhat, reverence towards. They're just such a horrible, disgusting human being that abuses and uses people, but at the same time, you are like, you know what? I do respect him, though, at the same time, for what he does and who he is. Because there's certain comics, that are complete scumbags.
That I dislike like that.
I'd have to say Ray DeVito for sure.
Yeah, Ray DeVito's one of them. He's a piece of shit.
Wait, really?
He's the worst, but at the same time, he's an amazing comic. So, yeah, you just don't want to have to deal with him on one-on-one basis. Let's just say that we've had him on 4 or 5 times, so we know all this history with that shit. So.
Sandeep, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can answer his question of someone who's despicable that you look up to or that you have reverence to. Or I was actually about to ask, is there like some comics that you guys really like, or you like their style that I guess you look up to or inspired you to get into it, or you really like their thing? What are your favorites?
Of like big celebrity comics?
No.
Just any like, who are some of the people you really like right now?
No.
Well,
peers or big guys.
Well, I have a big one. It's Jim Jeffries. Happens to be one of my main inspirations because he's just such an incredible freaking writer, and he does a lot of long form story stuff with jokes woven into it, and it's just so brilliant. And I try to do that because I do a lot of story bits, and so he's really someone I kind of watches specials to like take class from, for sure.
He's prolific too, and he's always funny. Like
always.
I used to listen to his pod. He did a podcast with Eddie Ift, who's kind of one of our rivals too. But yeah,
Fuck
they were
Eddie.
partners for a long time. Yeah, fuck Eddie. Fuck Eddie. Yeah.
What about you,
So-
Sandeep, man? Who do
But-
you fucking fuck with, bro? Had to be.
I mean, as for celebrities, I always thought Louis C.K. is my favorite.
I hear Louis C.K. is a fucking douche.
I don't know him.
Oh,
Yeah, we've heard that, but a lot of comics say that too. They just
Yeah.
love his style and the jokes and
Yeah,
the prolificness.
He's
So yeah,
a great ginger man. So I want to ask Sandeep something deep real quick, bro.
Let's get deep.
Let's get deep real quick. You're Indian, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
What's your take on what happened, bro? Because I just saw this shit pop up yesterday. That terrorist attack, Pakistan and India or shit, where they were killing Hindus and Christians. The Muslims were. What's your take on that as a Sen?
Okay,
Because I know you're a Sen from the Sen dynasty. So what's your take on that?
I'm a bad Indian. I actually don't know. I know that there's something going on. I haven't, and they might be going to a war, but I haven't
It's
read
bad,
about it.
bro. It's very bad.
I didn't know anything about
there
it
was
either.
some terrorist attack happened in Kashmir.
Yeah, they killed like 28 people, and they asked them to recite the Quran or some crazy Muslim shit, and they couldn't do it, so they fucking murdered 26 men that were Hindu, and then one that was Christian. And they saved all the Muslims and all the women and children, which I guess is good, I guess.
What if
But
the Muslims couldn't recite the Quran? What if they just weren't, they hadn't like rehearsed?
it's fucked up. Do you talk to your parents at all? Are they more like, involved in Indian politics than you are?
I don't know. They would just see it reported on the news, but I don't think.
So you don't follow anything going on with Pakistan or India at all in any aspect?
Not really, no.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. You're fully Americanized then.
Yeah.
I read a news story like 2 days ago, but it was like a 4-minute read.
So if I go to your goddamn house, there's no curry. It's straight cheeseburgers and fucking French fries, right?
I just had a beef stew.
He's got an
Yeah.
Eames chair.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hey, respect, bro. Respect, bro. Respect.
That's a.
Are you into Indian chicks, bro?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, Sandeep. Indian chicks are fucking bad, bro. I'm not gonna lie, dude. They're baddies. And the food's tough, dude. Curry, orange chicken, all that shit is fucking fire.
Butter chicken.
Yeah, dude.
Orange chicken. That's the Chinese.
Oh yeah. Oh shit, my bad, man. You guys all crank it, bro. All you Asians are cranking. So, so Dani, what's your ethnicity? You look, you got the hair, you got the eyes. What are you going with, bro? Like, what are you?
What am I doing? Like,
No,
what
what's
am
your ethnicity, girlfriend? You look very.
I am.
You got the jawline.
Ethnically, I'm Ashkenazi Jewish, like Lithuanian.
Oh shit! So you're Jew and Lithuanian.
Not practicing, just
No, of course, right.
But I do make a fantastic challah.
Oh my god, that's
nice.
tough. Okay, respect.
Very good, very good.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I mean, getting back to comedy, we touched on some comics you guys look up to, and we kind of touched on the scene in New York, but what is it? Because we're tight. I do a show with Chad Zumach. He's Florida's greatest comedian, very famous guy. And then we've noticed that the road has changed a lot lately. What is it like for you guys to try to get out and tour around the country doing stand up? Is that something you guys have ever done or would look into doing? How does that work?
I have not done a tour. If I go to a different city, then I'll try to get on stage. So I've done shows in Chicago and Montreal and different cities, India. So I found, honestly, I feel like New York is like a private school experience of comedy where it's like you're just beaten by nuns all the time, and and then you go out and you're like, oh, they really prepared us for the real world. Because I think when you go out, when you're used to doing shows for 7 drunk people who didn't really want a comedy show, when there's a big audience who are looking for comedy, I think New York just makes your shit really tight because you don't have time to ramble or meander. You just got to take the audience by the balls, and I think that you tend to have better sets outside of New York. I've noticed.
Yeah, the audiences when you travel, and I've never toured, but I've had larger gigs outside the city in done a couple things in like Binghamton or like, you know, really rural New Jersey or wherever, or Delaware. And, you know, these people don't have a comedy club. They don't have anything to do. So whatever comedian is there is the biggest ticket in town.
Right.
And New
It's
York
an
is
event every when you go out of town, whereas in New York there's 100 places doing the same shows every night, so it's not as special. So the audience is prepared for it that way.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sandeep, how supportive is your parents of you being a stand-up comic?
Oh, they love it. So I haven't quit my job or anything. So
You're still making money. You see that chair, bro.
See, that's what I respect about you, bro. You realize, hey, stand-up comedy don't pay the goddamn bills, you know, unless you're fucking making, you know, you're going on Joe Rogan's Mothership or some crazy shit like that, to the point where, you know, you're a regular.
Yeah, I think people who have to rely on comedy to pay the bill, I respect the hell out of them, but that is
retarded
pressure that I couldn't. I would be too anxious to do it.
Ray DeVito, you should listen right now because you are a mentally challenged retard. Anyway, so Sandeep, you speak a great point to that. So you stick to your day job, and then at night you go out there with the goons, you do your thing, you know, do the mic. And your parents are fully supportive. They watch your show. I'm sure they've probably been to a few of your stand-ups.
Yeah.
So that's very rare, actually, as an Indian, because like when we've had a lot of foreigners on, you know, I'm not saying foreigner like you're from India or anything, you know, people of different ethnicity, their parents are very not supportive. They're saying, you know, you need to be a doctor. You need to freaking be doing this, be doing that.
He is a doctor.
He is a doctor.
Oh, shit, Sandy. That's why they're not bitching at you, bro.
Yeah.
You're a doctor.
Wait
a minute. What?
A doctor and a comedian.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he's
no
doing
wonder
the
they're not
comedy on
bitching
the
at
side,
you,
bro.
dude. You're lucky.
No,
you
if I
did
quit
it
school,
both
I'm sure
ways.
their attitude would be a lot different.
Yeah, no shit. If you're working at 7-Eleven, they'd probably be bitching at your ass the whole entire time. But
Oh,
you're
yeah.
a doctor, so you're fucking rolling with it, man. I love that. But Dani, you're a Jew, so so how does your Jewish family take hold of you doing comedy?
I mean, they just kind of ignore me most of the time. But you know, I do actually. I have probably the one day job in the world like doing comedy. It's called The Ride, experiencetheride.com. And it's
theride.com.
experiencetheride.com, and
That's tough.
It's like it's like an educational comedy show about New York City for tourists.
Yeah.
And I host the show, and it's on a bus that's set up like a proscenium theater, and we have singers and dancers surprise planted on the street with microphone packs. The bus like talks to the people in the audience, and I tell a bunch of jokes. A lot of the jokes I tell I wrote, but you know, it's like, here's
who
a
the
joke
fuck is that in the background doing that shit? Who the fuck's in the background the whole their goddamn show? Who is that? Who is that?
I don't know, Mir, but
Sandeep, you got someone, bro? Is that
Mir, who cares? I got this ride thing pulled up. It looks fucking dope.
There, let me see. Pull it up.
You don't need to get sidetracked with that.
It is super cool. Like, it is like kind of the coolest day job ever.
All right, we're gonna pull this up. I got
do
you.
it.
Let me see it
Oh,
right
wait.
here.
Yeah.
There it is.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you, this is the ride. This is it, right?
Yeah, so it seats 50 people, and then there's two comedians on the bus, and then there's like singers and dancers on the streets.
Oh shit. Okay.
Wow.
And it just goes around Midtown. That's a freestyle rapper.
Nice. So how'd you get into this, or how long have you been doing it?
Okay, so about 2 years. So I was performing stand-up comedy at a Star Trek convention, which is a thing that I do. And my boss at the Ride, the creative director, saw me perform at a Star Trek convention, and we were chatting and found out we both lived in New York, and I'm right by their office, and that's how I got the job.
That's cool. Is that one of your niches? Is like that Star Trek and sci-fi type fantasy Comic-Con stuff?
So myself and couple other comics, but primarily a guy named Dave McGowan. He's based in DC. We have my cat is just over here being a cat.
You're good. You're good.
We do stand-up comedy in cosplay as Star Trek characters. I think I have now done, I want to say 16 Star Trek conventions, and I have like a whole Star Trek half hour of comedy.
What got you into cosplay?
Wow. I was into Star Trek, and it honestly really funny. I have a total crush on Commander Riker from Star Trek: The Next Generation. You know,
hot,
Commander Riker, so hot, and even now, Captain Riker in his 70s, so hot. So my gray bearded husband looks just enough that I made him a Starfleet uniform, like to wear just for me.
Have you guys like gone dirty with it? With the costumes, you guys roll with that shit. Cosplay.
I'm gonna divert back to that so I don't lose.
Oh, go ahead.
But that was the intention, and then flash forward. And I made myself one in this color green. Flash forward a couple years, I get asked to do a Star Trek convention on Zoom because it's the pandemic, and I have a green screen behind me, and my Starfleet uniform, you can just see completely through me. So I real quick threw together this cosplay character named 7 of 9, and that has become like my thing. And I have now like traveled with that and like been recognized in that, like at all the cons. And
no shit. So you're like a staple piece now.
Comedic
7-9.
There's like certain and there's certain cons I'll do every year, and I mean it's definitely a fun niche, and call our group Seriously Nerdy Comedy.
That's tough.
That's a big niche. Like I saw some show on Patreon. It was the most boring show, and it was just like 3 guys with nothing to. But they were reviewing a Star Trek, and it had so many Patreons. And I think there's a lot of people doing it like that. So there's just such a big market of people who are so into Star Trek stuff that, like, if you get into that for comedy or these conventions and stuff, it's a good niche.
Knowing that many people are into Star Trek gives me hope for the future.
Sandeep, do you fuck with cosplay, bro?
I know, but I've done several naked comedy shows.
What's that? What's that? Tell me what that is.
That's a show where you go. I mean, there's one that's in Bushwick at like this like polyamory house where people have sex parties in the basement, but on some nights they have comedy. One of our producer friends does comedy. So all the performers are completely naked, and for audience, the clothing is optional. And so I've seen a lot of man spreading, and it is not a pretty picture. Naked man spreading.
But you've gone up there naked, right?
I've gone up there naked. I've done 3 of these shows. So I have an opening line, which is, as an Indian, I'm used to taking off my shoes before coming in, but this has gone too far.
Did you ever get busy? I like that, actually. That's funny as fuck. Did you ever get busy like at those parties
No, there are not many attractive people at the naked parties.
So it wasn't like a deprivation like ritual, right? Nothing like that. You're just like, hey, look at me. I'm rolling with it.
No, these shows tend to be fun. Like because it's like 50 people. People are amped up for it, and so my sets go well. And then people are like, "Are you nervous?" I'm actually way more nervous when I'm not doing well than when I'm naked and doing well.
Right, you're not getting a hard on stage or anything.
No.
They still do these.
I'll do it anytime I get booked. I've done 3.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be on it in a couple months.
Nice.
Tell the booker that you got 2 fans that are gonna fly in from all across the United States to come see you next time you do it, Sandeep. So me and Mir will be there.
I'll be spread, bro, for you.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Can't wait.
No, that's crazy though. So
that's really cool.
So I don't know, like you're like this is crazy to me, Sandeep. Like you're not a nervous young buck, but you're a little bit timid. You're doing these quality, classes in NYC, and you're slowly building your career to the point where now you're just full on fucking showing off your junk in front of people ripping comedy. Like that's an amazing, I think, escalation of confidence. So where am I? Go ahead. Before I ask the rest.
Like there's a lot of like, when you challenge yourself on stage, it's like, it just kind of makes like regular comedy a little, for someone who's like always been really nervous to be on stage, I think recreating that, just trying to get ever more comfortable with like regular stage. So you do this stuff like a naked comedy show. It's like it's like your worst nightmare. And when you can do that, now being on regular stage is just a little less of a big deal. And you're always trying to get to a point where you're just completely relaxed on stage. And I still don't feel like I'm there. Like it gets better and worse, but I don't feel like, I think the best comics are like, you talk to them off stage and it's not really different than talking to them on stage. And I still think like I'm different on stage than off stage.
And nobody plays with themselves at these shows, correct?
There was someone at 2 shows ago that
I knew
it seemed like he was playing with himself, so then they had to have a talk with him. But
was it Ray?
Generally, no. It was Ray DeVito.
Yeah, I bet it was with his gout.
TM Zuma, clip it.
Yeah, clip it. It was Ray. Oh, no.
That's wild though. Yeah, I we're just like podcast fans and shit, but I know that Skankfest they do a naked roast battle.
Yeah, I did that.
Like,
you did that shit?
too?
Oh
Okay.
shit! How'd that go, bro?
That was the most nervous I've ever. I was so nervous it became psychedelic. I was a little high because it was so. I was just so because it was. I mean, that was the second naked show I'd ever done, and roast battles themselves make me a lot more nervous because it's not like your normal act where you've like done the jokes a lot and it's still kind of in your persona. With roast jokes, it's like you've never really delivered it before. So roast jokes made me nervous. But this was in front of like 800 people. It was the biggest audience I've ever performed in front of for any kind of show, and it was a naked roast battle. And
a fuckload of like every single comedian's watching too, like in the world basically. So
I was immediately behind because my opponent was Allison Klemp, and we get on stage and she takes her roast jokes out of her vagina. And, and I'm already behind the 8 ball. And then
how'd you come back from that, bro?
You had to have lost that going against a chick.
I did lose. I lost in overtime though. I brought it back and then I went to overtime, but then I lost in overtime.
That's crazy, bro. But yeah, I mean, look, you're looking back on that experience very fondly, right?
Oh yeah,
so cool.
Yeah,
the best.
You live one life, like you do fun, cool shit like that. You're in New York, and this is
the debauchery. Why not?
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. I told you he was based, man.
I know he's based. Like
I don't know what base means. What is this term?
How do you not know what base means,
bro.
dude? How old are
I
you?
don't either.
How old are you guys?
You got aura, bro. You got this aura when you look
43.
at you. Yeah.
Sandeep, how old are you?
49.
Holy shit, you some almost. I know you guys have, like Chow said, that aura, that essence of like whatever goes, and I'm just gonna do my own thing, and I respect it how you do.
Is that what base means?
Well, it means also like you're okay with us saying, like retard, faggot, all that shit. Like it doesn't matter. It's from the back in the day. It doesn't mean what it means now.
No, it just means like you're like grounded. You're just like you're not
gonna get offended.
You're not full of hot air. You're like
Yeah.
true, bro. You're true. I could just tell.
Okay, I see where base.
Get a
I see
vibe,
where
bro.
I
Yeah.
We've had guests where they freaked out on us, for saying the F-bomb, all that good shit. And they're like, how dare you? It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here,
Comes down to intent.
Intent, like Dani, we're not ill-hearted people at heart.
Exactly.
We were raised by good parents and good mothers. All right, like I would never say faggot without really truly hating a fag. Okay, I would never do that. I have a lot of pure gay people. what? Hey man, watch it.
All I'm saying is,
right. There's a lot of pure gay people that I know that I truly love with all my heart, and we fuck with each other all the time. They call me, never mind.
And you used to be, bro.
Yeah, I used to be gay. Actually, that's true. I used to be gay, Dani. So I can say faggot whenever I want. Okay.
Used to be okay.
What, did you go to like a conversion camp?
No, sir. I'm actually like when I realized I wasn't gay was when I actually found my Lord and Savior, Trump. So we're good to go on that. All right.
Trump, yeah. Nah. He's been straight for a minute. He was gay when he was doing some music back in the day when he was out in Hollywood. But
yeah, when I was on Hollywood
we don't
Boulevard,
talk
dude,
about that too much.
Annie Dick would just take my ass and play with it. But now I'm good.
I've never heard of someone de-gaying except like from prison, but somehow prison and Hollywood turns people gay.
Danny,
You're like the success. You're the when they go to gay conversion camps. You're like the success
What?
story. They could.
Yeah, I know, dude. I'm like, hey, I got shocked, but I'm good, bro. They shocked the fuck out of me. My dad did rape me, but I'm good now, and I'm having a lovely family and everything in between. So, like, Danny, speaking of childhood trauma, I want to dive back into what happened with you and your mother. Like, you said that was an essence of your comedy to some extent, and you built from that. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like
and I know you come from a Jewish family, so there are some, like, I'm not trying to be racist here or ethnically wrong, but I know there are some. If she was a more acidic Jew, there are some.
well, no, the interesting thing is my mom was to out of respect for her privacy and everything, because we don't talk. I'm not going to go too much into
don't
it.
Go duty, but give us enough.
I make a joke. So my mother was not raised Jewish, so her family completely cut her off when she married a Jew.
She's not. You're not Jewish, then you're good.
My joke is, when my parents got married, my mother converted to Judaism. At least her parenting style did. So.
Oh, that was good.
That's
Anyway,
it.
well, here's the thing, though. I love about you two, and I want this to be a lesson to everyone that ever goes on anything and does anything. Never overshare. And that's the biggest thing I've learned throughout my whole entire life. And Sandeep, you just keep it just enough so you're not like, you're not showcased as a fucking Indian, jockey idiot, right? You know what I'm saying? And Dani, you keep it just well enough that you're not like, mentally abused, Jewish, girl with blue hair. Like, there's some deeper cuts there, but you keep it in the background. We've had guests on who come on here, and I don't want to say names, Dan, stupid podcast, whatever your name is, but we tend to overshare certain things about our lives to the point where it really starts to, I would just say, make you look like an idiot and a fool. And I'm glad you two aren't doing that, because that showcases to me you two are actual proper professionals and comedians, and I really respect that out of you two. So I just want to say you guys are truly professionals in your arena, and I do truly respect that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's really nice of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah, I think I think I've got all my questions asked. I guess is maybe looking forward, is there anything I know we kind of talked about specials and shows and stuff, but anything where we can look forward to finding you guys, as any podcasts, social media, stuff like that? Any planned?
Yeah, any crazy anything? Or are you guys just kind of like
I got nothing crazy coming up, just the regular shows around New York.
Yeah.
No naked, get-togethers?
Definitely. I mean, you come over, we'll get naked.
I'm not gay anymore, bro, so chill.
I'm gonna do my best to get everything together and film a special before I move, and then of course just the usual shows around New York. I'm usually
real quick. I'm sorry, Dani. Hang on, real quick. I know you're moving, but real quick, Dani. I mean, not Sandy, Dani. Have you ever heard of? You never heard of Ray DeVito, correct? Bless you, sir.
Bless you.
So you've not. So Sandeep, have you heard of Ray DeVito?
Yeah, I know Ray DeVito. I mean,
yeah, I buddies with him.
What's your take on Ray? Honestly, as a buddy, since you're a buddy with him, I'm a buddy.
I haven't talked to him in a long time.
What happened? Why didn't you talk to him, man?
Huh? I was never like close to him, but I don't remember him being like impossible. But I just don't know him. I don't know what he's done to you guys.
What's your best memory with Ray? I want to hear that.
I just know him like from like doing comedy. and seen him do
Just
comedy.
give me
What's your take on his
Yeah.
comedy?
Yeah, what's your take on his comedy?
I haven't seen it, so I don't even have a take on it. I just haven't seen it. In a
You
while.
never seen it, but you've done comedy with
What do you
him.
think of
I've
his the
definitely
way
seen
he?
it, but I haven't not in years, so that I don't like remember what his comedy was.
What do you think of his fashion?
I don't.
Don't you remember seeing like pictures of
This
him?
guy's useless,
I
bro.
haven't thought about Ray DeVito in a long time. I don't know.
What? Okay, when I say Ray DeVito, what do you think?
I just pictured his face,
What do you picture?
what he looks like.
What does he look like?
It's the
White
chin,
guy?
isn't it, bro?
It's the fucking.
He's got a famous chin.
Yeah, man.
He's got that big chin.
Well, we'll put in a good word for you with Ray, and we'll say, hey, you know what? Ray needs Sandeep. Hey, right now, everyone
I would love that.
needs to get Sandeep back on the Ray DeVito.
What has
Bottom
Ray done
rock
to you? What
podcast.
happened with Ray DeVito?
Nothing. He's been on like 4 or 5
I
times.
love Ray.
And
Ray's fucking
me and
tough,
me and Chad Zumach do a show called the Vito Show, where we kind of watch Ray and like cover his podcast. So yeah, we're like in the Ray business, but he hasn't done anything to us. We're cool with him, but we just
I love Ray.
You seem very
Yeah.
not cool with Ray DeVito.
he's been on like 4 or 5 times, and Mir's giving him like 5 G's.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I love Ray. Ray is the gift that keeps on giving. So we'll put a good word in for you, Sandeep, because we'd love to see you on Ray DeVito show sometime, because
Nice.
I think you two could go way back to reconnect.
Get that in.
Yeah. But anyway, you guys want to plug anything before we end the show? Because I got to take a wicked piss, and I know Chow's got to go do something. So
Dani Riedel comedy on Instagram, and hopefully soon I'm going to be announcing when I'm going to be doing a live taping, and you should come to it.
damn straight. Thank you, sweetheart. Sandeep, you got any plugs, bro?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, Sandeep Sen Comic, and we do a show at Vig Bar every Sunday. If you're ever in New York, it's a free show at a bar, so come out every Sunday at 7 p.m.
Damn straight. And look for Sandeep on Ray DeVito Rock Bottom podcast coming soon.
Nice.
On God. All right. Peace out, everybody. Ciao.
Thank you, guys.
Taco.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.